Howdy, folks, and welcome back. Hope you're all blessed and doing okay out there. Well, for today's video, I present to you New Hampshire steam railroads. And New Hampshire is quite a place to visit. I've heard there's some cool stuff to do, but one thing that makes them unique is a cog rail called the Mount Washington Railroad. What's a cog railway? Well, you hear more about that during the program. Now, I've seen this program, but it's been a while. So, I think I'll just let the program do the talking. Anyway, all aboard New Hampshire Steam Railroads from America's historic steam railroads.
Kind of a cumbersome operation.
Welcome aboard America's historic steam railroads. Hello, I'm Bob Schreiber, and today we're going to visit three very unique steam railroads in the state of New Hampshire. These railroads are situated in the beautiful White Mountain National Forest, with the White Mountain Central Railroad located at Lincoln, the Mount Washington Cog Railway at Bretton Woods, and the Conway Scenic Railroad located at North Conway. We'll be traveling aboard White Mountain Central Railroad's beautifully restored Climax locomotive, and we'll take a look at one of America's few remaining turntables at the Conway Scenic Railroad, and we'll climb up the steep grades of Mount Washington on the world-famous Cog Railway to the summit and the home of the world's worst weather. Sit back, relax now, and enjoy the next half hour of America's historic steam railroad.
Yeah, I've heard of coffee.
Before our trip up Mount Washington, our crew services the train and locomotive, making sure the windows are clean and the locomotive has been properly lubricated. Passengers purchase their tickets at the new Marshfield Base Station. After each trip up the mountain, the locomotive is back down to the coal tipple, where it has the ash pan emptied and cleaned. The tender receives a new load of coal.
Each locomotive is different in consumption of coal. This particular one will go through a ton of coal on the way up. Locomotives weigh approximately roughly 15 tons.
The trip takes roughly an hour and 20 minutes to get to the top. We give you some time at the top and an hour and 20 down for a total round trip of about 3 hours.
Thank you.
If you do have any questions, I'll be happy to take them during a couple of our stops when I stop to give you some more history and stuff like that.
In the late 1800s, passengers arrived at the base station in stagecoaches for a grand trip up the mountain. Old Pepper's Ass is seen here on the mountain. And now the locomotive enjoys the view of Mount Washington from its display position at the base station. The vertical boiler soon gave way to the current style of locomotive with the horizontal boiler that we see today. Old Pepper's Ass was used from the very beginning in the actual construction of the railroad, as seen here on Jacob's ladder trestle. In order for workers to get down off the mountain faster than the 3 miles per hour of the train, they invented a wooden sled, nicknamed the Devil's Sled. With their toolbox between their legs, they came down the mountain at speeds up to 60 miles per hour. And it was not uncommon to come down in groups. Changes to the ratchet on today's railroad now prevent the Devil's Slides from being used for obvious safety reasons.
We're at our Wombat tank. This is where we're going to take on some additional water. We do need the 1,000 gallons I'd mentioned before, but our tender only holds about 600. We're about a third of the way up, so we'll go ahead and top off the tank, and this will last us until we get up to the top again. Right now, our fireman has shoveled in quite a bit of coal. He does go through a whole ton of coal, and what that averages out to is a shovel full every 20 seconds. He's doing this with one arm, only one hand on the shovel. The other hand actually opens and closes the firebox door. We don't have any automated doors or anything. He scoops up a shovelful, opens the door, throws it in, closes the door. We get up a little bit further, we're going to come to a little red house. It'll be right here on your right-hand side. We call it the engineer side. That's our halfway house. It is built perfectly level. We will be climbing at 25%. By building this house level, it lets you visually get an idea of how we're climbing. Jacob's Ladder is our steepest climb. It's the second steepest climb of any cog railway in the world. That is 37.5%. Basically what it means is on this particular coach we're riding, that front seat is going to be 14 feet higher than the back seat. Not only will we be going up at 37.5%, we will be 30 feet off the ground on a trestle, and we'll be going around a slight curve. It's a lot of fun.
It's best to remember that the weather can change quickly on the mountain that is known for the world's worst weather.
Our switches are the most complicated in railroad history. We have 9 moving parts. Each part has to be moved by hand. That's the job of the brakeman. think one of the best views in the world. We poked through the clouds so you could see the white cotton all around it. I can't get over that. That's still awesome to me. And that's why I love working here on the railroad. It's always changing. No two trips are ever the same. You're also visiting the home of the world's worst weather, so it isn't that often that we get a crystal clear day. In fact, the highest wind speeds ever recorded on the face of the earth were recorded about 100 yards from where we take the people off the train, and that was in 1934 when a man measured a top wind speed of 231 miles an hour.
The locomotive and passenger car are able to remain on the steep tracks by means of a geared cog and ratchet system. The cogs are located under the center line of the locomotive. The passenger cars also have two cogs connected to the braking system of the passenger car. The cogs are engaged into the ratchet located between the rails, allowing the locomotive to literally pull itself up the mountain while pushing a passenger car. The first locomotives were built with a vertical boiler that pivoted to allow for changes in the grades on the mountain, so that the boiler would always remain upright. Today's locomotives are constructed with their boilers tilted to 25 degrees on the locomotive frame, allowing the boiler to basically remain horizontal on the average 25% grades of the mountain. The locomotives have wheels like most locomotives, except that they do not provide any tractive power. They merely keep the locomotive on the tracks. The tractive power comes from the center line cog gear that engages into a ratchet placed between the rails. Each locomotive has two driving pistons on each side. The drive shafts power a set of gears connected to the center cog. On our way down the mountain, we are afforded an excellent view of the vast valleys and mountains that are part of the White Mountain National Forest.
As we're coming down the mountain, the engineer sets his speed by an air valve, and that controls the compression of the locomotive. And the brakeman also has capabilities of braking, and he maintains the constant rate of speed on the grades by applying his brakes.
The locomotives and passenger cars are constantly cared for and maintained at the railroad shop, with its unique transfer table to shuttle cars and locomotives among the shop's stalls so they can be repaired or painted, and getting them ready for their next trip up Mount Washington. Mount Washington can be seen from our next railroading tour, the Conway Scenic Railroad.
Mount Washington is highly visible this morning, ladies and gentlemen, on our right part of the train and towards the rear. Mount Washington is the highest peak north of the Carolinas and east of the Mississippi, 6,288 feet in elevation.
The main station here at the Conway Scenic Railroad was built in 1874, and it was really the grandest and finest station they built on this line, being one of the last ones they built. It's of a Muscovite-inspired design, and in the upstairs of this building, we still wind a Howard 8-day clock once a week to keep folks in the village aware of the time, and when that clock quits, you hear about it. All of the major structures here in the North Conway terminal area are on the National Register of Historic Places and are afforded some protection from future development that would significantly alter their appearance and their function. The 7470 is our only active steamer at this time. She normally consumes 800 to 1,000 gallons of water on each round trip to Conway and approximately a ton of coal. We burn a mixture of anthracite and bituminous to keep the emissions down and also to provide a nice hot fire for which to provide the steam. The 7470 over this past winter has undergone a major overhaul. We've rebored all pistons and valve liners. We've are in the process of installing new rings on the pistons.
Our travel on the Conway Scenic Railroad is a 1-hour round trip through lush farmlands and across the Saco River.
We're now starting to cross the Saco River, one of the major rivers draining the Mount Washington Valley watershed. Like all of our natural assets in the valley, it is popular for outdoor uses such as canoeing, swimming, fishing, and as a wildlife habitat support. On our left, as we cross the river, towards the left bank of the river, is a pool that is usually very clear, and trout can sometimes be seen basking there.
The roundhouse today is the same 4 stalls that it originally had with very little modification. 2 of the stalls are winterized, and we do all our winter inside work in those stalls. The other 2 stalls are basically used for coal storage. The turntable you see in front of the roundhouse is basically a bridge that rotates. Several times a day we place the locomotive on the table, get it perfectly balanced, hook up the air hose that drives the air brakes on the train, and using the air compressor on the locomotive, we spin an air motor that allows us to rotate the locomotive to the appropriate stall. Not everything you see on the property here at the Conway Scenic Railroad is owned by the folks that run the company. We have several pieces of equipment on display that are owned by the 470 Railroad Club in Portland, Maine, and we also have several cabooses that are in private hands. A good majority of this equipment has been restored to operating condition and has been refurbished to the point that they provide nice displays for the folks to see how things used to be. Several of the wooden cabooses are in excellent condition. It's our goal and mission here to provide an environment where young and old alike can experience the smell of smoke from a steam locomotive, ride behind a steam locomotive, and we pretty much are trying to preserve a 1940s, 50 era operation for the benefit of everyone. We are a privately held corporation, and we survive entirely upon ticket revenue, purchases in a gift shop. We've been here 20 years, all of them profitable through the dedication of a lot of people that want to see railroading as it was in that era survive.
Keeping steam locomotives alive is also a main goal of the White Mountain Central Railroad at Clark's Trading Post, located at Lincoln, New Hampshire, where we see the depot and Main Street come alive with people ready to ride the train and later see the trained bears.
The Climax was built in 1920 in Corey, Pennsylvania, designed primarily as a logging engine. The Climax originally was designed to burn coal. When we got it here, we decided to convert it over to wood, only because the wood is a renewable resource. We have plenty of it around here, and it's also a lot cleaner for the locomotive, the cars, and the people than coal is.
Gives the people something to watch.
Other people prefer the Shea or the Heisler. I personally like the Climax. It's a good running locomotive. It runs well and it's easy to maintain. And it has yet to let us down. In all the years we've been running, we haven't missed a trip with it.
The Climax is a geared locomotive with an inclined piston driving a transverse shaft, which is geared to a center line drive shaft that in turn drives each axle through bevel gears.
We're just going to be stopping for a minute or two now to take on some water. The water tower from which we are filling up from came from the old Lincoln paper mill and was used on the B&M Railroad Division. Presently at this time we will be filling up with roughly 200 gallons of water, and during the course of the day the locomotive will consume about 600 gallons of water, and we will burn roughly half a quart of wood. The covered bridge which you are about to go through is a Howe truss covered bridge and was built in 1904 and is rated for 200 tons. It was painstakingly disassembled piece by piece and reconstructed here on the grounds back in 1964, and is one of the few remaining Howe truss covered bridges left in existence in the world today. Let's not forget, once you do cross over that bridge, you will be into the infamous Wolfman's territory. Well, this is it, our world-famous end of the tracks. And here on your left-hand side, you will notice the beautiful Pemigewasset River that does flow out of Franconia Notch State Park. Well, I guess I'm going to have to apologize for that attack on the train by that old fellow we call the Wolfman. He's a miner for ore, and he believes that he has found a very rare ore here called unobtainium. Well, just because I've never heard of this rare ore doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. The old Wolfman believes that he has found some on the right-hand side of our tracks earlier. You may have noticed a large rock with a door on it saying, "Keep out." Well, that was the entrance to the Wolfman's unobtainium mine. And every time we do steam on through his territory, he thinks that we're trying to jump his unobtainium claim, and is simply scaring us on by.
Father and daughter team of Maureen and Murray Clark perform with their large collection of trained bears. Even as a young boy, Murray Clark was working with bears. We hope you have enjoyed your trip on 3 of New Hampshire's outstanding railroads, and we look forward to seeing you again on America's historic steam railroads.
And there you have it. What an amazing program. I've not been to New Hampshire, but I would actually like to visit now. That cog railway is quite a unique invention, and there's more than one operation as far as I can tell in the world, but the only two I know besides this one is also the Pikes Peak and Cog Railroad located in Colorado. I forgot completely about the Conway Scenic Railroad, to be honest, but that looks like fun too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll wrap it up. Until next time, please be safe around trains. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Remember, the Lord loves all of us. Happy rails, and I'll see y'all next time.